All right, so this is a comment from a man, so I got to read it because, we don't always see men commenting. But he says, we all have preferences. He actually was replying to somebody. We all have preferences. He likes slim to average women and won't date a plus size woman. He put BBW because he's not attracted to them. And I do think that, listen, I 100% agree with him. And I think that everyone needs to stop being mad at other people's preferences and just accept it for what it is. Listen, there are some women who will not date a man with locks. They just won't. They haven't. I had one woman tell me that if a man has locks, 90% of the time he's been to jail. Now, she was right with me. I did go to jail before, but that was for a warrant for a speeding ticket. All right, so don't jump to no conclusions. I forgot to pay a speeding ticket. Long story. Cops got me. I did go to jail, so she was technically right. But the point is, some people they have their perceptions, their reasoning. Sometimes some women are just not attracted to a lot of hair. Some women hate beards. Some women love beards. You know what I'm saying? Some men like short. Some men like tall. Listen, everybody got their preferences. Who cares? The only thing I think everyone should respect the preferences. And the only thing I say to the person who has their preferences is have them, but don't over specify them to the point that you are boxing yourself in. And what I mean by that is when I say over specifying, it's like, okay, if a man says, I like short women, right? But then he goes further and says they got to be 5'2" or 5'3". I'm okay. Like, you're doing too much, bro. Like, you can have short. And I think you're going to find plenty of women who are short or shorter than you that you're attracted to, okay? To say that they have to be 5'2", it's like you're doing a little too much. That's not necessary. This is where you may box yourself in. Now, if you happen to find one who is 5'2", and it is nothing wrong with saying your ideal height would be the woman being 5'2", 5'3". But to say that they have to be that for you to even consider it, that to me is where people get themselves in trouble because, again, are you overlooking genuine attraction? To me, attraction has to be there. Connection has to be there. That's the key. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, let people have their preferences. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I got to read this because this is really interesting. And I don't even know if I have a proper answer for this, but this is such an interesting question. She says, Stephan, what if your man tells you he wants you to go to a bar or club and get hit on and flirt with other men to boost your self-esteem? Is this crazy or what? No, it's not crazy. So listen, now I know that answer sounds crazy. All right, it sounds crazy, but let me explain. One, I think that his suggestion for you to go to a bar and get hit on is just what he came up with in his head. But what he's really saying to you is, I want you to become more confident. I want you to have higher self-esteem. I think that if you can find a way to accomplish that, even without going to the bar, he would still be happy. So I think don't get caught up in the suggestion, the specific suggestion. I think what he's trying to convey is he wants you to be a more confident woman. And for him, he just came up with, and maybe he saw it somewhere or whatever, go to the bar, mix and mingle. That might help boost your confidence. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's because, and here's the thing. The other reason why I say it's not crazy in the sense that it could have that effect. See, we view it as crazy because we're saying, wait a minute, you're in a relationship and you're telling me to go be hit on by other men and go flirt. But if to him, he's like, yo, I'm not telling you to go sleep with nobody. I'm not telling you to go actually do anything. I'm telling you to engage so you can become comfortable and more confident. And so, it's not crazy in the sense that if you went to a club or bar tomorrow and let's say 7 guys hit on you, and let's say 7 good-looking guys hit on you, guess what? You're going to come home feeling yourself. You're going to be a little bit like, wait a minute, I'm kind of hot. Like, hold up now. So it would actually have that effect if you successfully get hit on. Now the risk is, God forbid you go there and nothing happens, you might come back lower self-esteem. That's a risk. So I'm not saying it is the method you should use, but I think that what he's conveying is, let's figure out how to get you more comfortable, confident, higher self-esteem. So I think what if you don't want to go to his suggestion of the bar, the club, suggest a different route that can be taken to achieve the same result. This is another question from a man, so I'm going to read it. Love it. It says, does a quality man have to make six figures? He argues not necessarily. If he's paying his own bills and not asking for handouts, give him a chance. So I'm going to do a YouTube video on why women should not want, and don't get caught up in the title, but should not want a six-figure man, all right? And it's not that you actually it's wrong for you to desire it, but it's to break down the fact that I think people are getting caught up on the number, six figures, making that much money, but they're missing the full picture. And so, quick example, because I don't want to give the whole video away. But one, let me just say, I agree with it's Timothy that made that comment. I agree with him. A quality man doesn't necessarily have to make six figures. He does need to know how to manage his money and be responsible. And so, here's the thing. There are men, I met a man one time who makes 70 grand a year. But he's been making 70 grand for the last, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 70 grand for the last 7 to 10 years. I can't remember how long. Either way, in that time frame, this man has no debt, owns his house. I think he even paid off his house, all right? No kids, no debt, paid off his house, doing good. And he's a simple living guy. So he's not an extravagant spender or anything like that. He has plenty in his savings, 401. He got all of that, okay? He's making 70. Yet I know another man making 120, always broke. Tons of debt, horrible manager of money, and he'll be flashy, but that doesn't mean he'll actually spend on his woman long term like a woman may think when they first meet him. So a lot of women will or if you say to a woman, here's a 70K a year guy, here's a 120K a year guy, a lot of times the woman will naturally, a lot of women, not all, will be more intrigued by the 120K because they're just focused on that salary. But they don't understand. You got to go deeper than that because that 120 guy in this example cannot provide you a better life than the 70K guy. You know what I'm saying? So you got to find out, okay, how is this man, is he a good manager of his money? Has he invested? Like, what is and I know that's not always an easy conversation to have, but the point is, this is what gives you a fuller picture of what you're getting yourself into. And I think too many people don't understand how you can, in time, live a great life and not make six figures. Again, it just depends. There's one more story, and I'm going to go to the next question. There's a guy who they did an article on him, how he became a millionaire in 5 years living on $50K a year. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the willingness to make sacrifices. He was making $50K, but he really scaled his life down to the bare minimum for those 5 years. And he took the money that he was saving and invested. And by 5 years, that man was able to reach $1 million. So again, someone might come to him and say, oh, you only made $50,000. But he's a millionaire. Like, y'all don't understand. The salary doesn't always define the net worth. It doesn't always define the full picture. So there's so much more to it. And I think that's the mistake that many make when they just say, well, he has to make six figures. You got to go deeper than that. Why do men or women who have someone at home cheat? All right, so listen. As much as people like to make the issue of cheating very black and white, you know, there are people out there because they have bad moral character or they're this, they're that. It's not that simple. not all situations. There's so much to dissect when we talk about why someone cheats when they're in a relationship, okay? And there's too much to dissect in this one live. This is something that not only am I going to do a video, I'm writing a whole book about cheating because there's a lot people just do not understand and go about the wrong way or mishandle. But I will say this, all right? And this is not to validate cheating or anything like that, say it's okay. But always make sure the home is secure. And what I mean by the home is secure is, have you and your partner been pouring into each other the way that y'all need to? We got to start there. Looking at this and that, we got to, and let me be more specific. Have we been pouring into them the way that they need? Not the way that we think it should be accepted, not that we think is good enough, that they need. I'm going to give one quick example. I had a guy many years ago email me. He was distraught. His fiance just cheated on him. All right. And his fiance, it was a crazy story. His fiance cheated on him with a guy who was dating his baby's mother. I know it sounds confusing, but just work with me here, okay? Mind you, the baby mom also had cheated on him before that. And before those two women, he had got cheated on. So this man had a history of being cheated on. Now, he blamed it on Christian women because all these women were supposed to be Christian women. He was like, I'm swearing off Christian women. They are the devil. I don't trust none of them, right? But I was like, wait a minute. If 3 women in a row all cheated on you, we've got to take a look at what are you overlooking here. It's not as simple as you dated all 3 devils. Like something else is going on, all right? And to wrap that story up, what came out after digging more was that he was a man who had the mentality of, if I pay the bills and if I put a roof on the table, a roof over your head and food on the table, I did my job, all right? He had no comprehension of emotionally pouring into your partner. So again, it does not mean that it's okay for those women to have cheated on this man. But what it does mean is that his home was not secure. His home was not secure. He was not pouring into his partners the way that they needed to. And once you create that crack in a relationship, then the possibility of infidelity and all kinds of other nonsense can start. So basically, when you crack that door, the devil will come in. He will find a way, one way or another, to get in that relationship. You have to secure your home. Again, this is a topic that we got to go a lot deeper into. There's so much more to say, but I just felt the need to at least mention that. All right. So we're gonna move on to the next question. And again, if you are interested in my coaching, take advantage. 25 spots open. Go to receivingmyblessings.com. Click the link in the comment section or the description. It's helping tons of women. You are going to see great results. Again, receivingmyblessings.com. All right, this statement says, please tell me why he's always blaming me. He's never wrong. So here's the thing. Some people will make it all about you because they don't want the light to be shined on them. And they will use the manipulation tactic of always turning the tables on you. It's somehow always your fault, even when you know deep inside they were the ones that violated. They were the ones that did something wrong. You got to hold true to what you know is true. So, for example, it's almost like if I don't know, let's say you have a bank account. Let's say you have money on the table and your partner one day takes your money. And he knows the rules are he don't take nobody's money off the table, okay? And he takes your money. And then you come home and you're like, you see the money's gone. And you're like, what happened to the money? And he's like, well, you left it on the table, so I took it. And you're like, well, wait a minute. We agreed that you don't take the money if it's on the table. Well, you shouldn't have left it on the table. That's your fault. You always doing this and that. You see how now he'll use his anger and start making it about you. But you got to remember, the rule was you don't take the money off the damn table. He took it off the table. He violated the rules. He is still wrong. You have to be aware enough to not get caught up in the argument. Somebody said it, gaslighting. The minute somebody's gaslighting, you got to catch it. Take a step back. Don't get into this back and forth. That's how you get lost. You get lost and they steer you into the direction of a different issue, okay? And now you find yourself trying to defend yourself. And by the end of the conversation, they've completely caused you to forget that it all started with, in this example, him taking the damn money off the table, okay? So you got to catch yourself and stop falling for it. And if you realize that they are unwilling to take any accountability and to properly address issues, then that is a sign that you need to let them go. There's no point in trying to have a relationship with someone who can never own up to their mistakes, who are never willing to properly address things, have calm conversations, who's only going to blame you. That's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to be a healthy dynamic. So in that scenario, you got to let them go. All right. You know, sometimes y'all make comments or questions and I'll pass it, but then it hits my spirit. Like, I got to say something. So I got to say something to this. This person said, I don't want to ever financially take care of a man. We are a team. Nothing wrong with the statement. But what the statement triggered in me, or the word that triggered something in me, was team. All right. And the reason why is because, and this may not apply to the person who made the comment, but I'm seeing what I believe is a misunderstanding of what a team really means. And I think some people think team is, well, we both give equally financially. We both do the chores equally. Everything has to be equal. And one, I do not believe equality ever exists in a relationship, because at some point the burden shifts to somebody. When you examine long-term relationships who try to, and of course there's exceptions to every rule, but the vast majority of relationships that attempt what they call an egalitarian dynamic, all right, it shifts. And typically, to be honest, it shifts to the woman. The woman ends up doing more in the relationship than the man. And I think that when we say team, we have to understand that team means we can have different roles, but we make a full unit, okay? So small example, and I'm not saying that you have to go about it this way, but an example. If a man says, okay, I will pay all the bills and handle the finances, and I just need you to take care of the home, that is still a team. Just because she does not give financially the equal that he gives, it is still a team unit, because in a relationship, there are various tasks and roles that have to be handled. She is handling certain ones, he is handling certain ones, and together they make it all work. To me, that's the key. We have to find the proper balance within the team. What is your strength? What is my strength? And we have to understand not in what will work today, but what will be sustainable in the long run. So even if, for example, let's just say that there's a woman listening who says, I don't mind carrying the financial burden right now, all right, until he gets himself together. I'm not telling you that's what you should do. I'm just using this example, okay? You don't mind that. Okay, cool. The problem is, are you going to be okay carrying the financial burden as a woman 5 years, 10 years from now? If you're not, then you have to have stipulations and say, okay, listen, The plan is, I will hold you down. For an example, I'll hold you down for the next year. And in that year, you need to get a job. We need you to do this, boom, boom, boom. And then when that happens, we are shifting back to either him carrying more of the weight or y'all splitting it however y'all want to split it, whatever. But there has to be an understanding of what you can actually maintain, because I've seen situations where women have done this. They've quote unquote held the man down, and in their head, they thought, okay, well, when he gets himself together, he will now pay his half or even pay more because now he's making money. Only to see that once he started making money, he still had her paying more. He still was talking about, well, I ain't got my half today. he still was shorting her on the money because, one, you conditioned him to thinking this was an acceptable dynamic. You did not state and make clear this is a temporary thing. I can only accept this for right now. And I have to say this because, again, this is hitting me too. Because I see a lot of women say, oh, I don't mind getting with a broke man. Or the man doesn't have to make that much money. But when you look deeper, what they're saying is, I don't mind getting with a man not making a lot of money today because I expect him to make more money later on. But little do you know that he may be okay making that same amount 4 years from now. And now you're frustrated because you had expectations that he would try to grow past this level. But to him, why I need to grow? You paying for everything. I make a good amount of money that I'm happy with. I don't need to change. He's comfortable. All right. And again, you never made clear what it is. So to get back to the point, when we talk about team, it's about how we create proper balance in the relationship. It's not about everything has to be equal. And also, whatever that balance is, whatever roles you guys are going to take on, be honest about what you can handle and how long you can handle it. Because if you allow someone to think that you are okay doing something that you are not okay doing for the long term, it's going to come back and bite you every time. I'm sorry. I'm not going to read the full comment, but this person said half the women on here dating broke men now, taking care of them, talking about they don't do broke men. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Listen, and it's funny because on the podcast I did the other day, I said, there's a difference between what people claim they'll accept and what people actually accept. All right. A lot of people say, I will never do this. I will never do that. But then life works out a different way. But listen, the goal, there ain't no, whatever your situation is right now, I ain't shaming you. I ain't talking down to you. I want to encourage you to get to where you belong. That's it. All right. To get to a better place, to create proper structure in your life and your relationships so that you don't end up getting burnt out, used, damaged, and dragged along in a relationship that you didn't belong in. Again, if you're interested in my coaching program, go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the comment section or the description. All right, so another one of those, I got to say something even though I was going to pass it. And this is another comment we got a lot of men in here today. Shout out to the men who are commenting today. All right, so this one says, I won't date a woman who has kids. All right, so listen, as I said earlier, I ain't hating on nobody's preferences. All right, everyone's allowed to have preferences. And I understand the argument that many men and women, because some women don't want a man with kids. I understand the argument that many people make about dating someone who has kids. But I will say this. I think that, again, sometimes we are living too much on the surface and we're not focusing on the root issue, okay? So, for example, and I'm just going to use one example. One of the arguments against women with kids is that you will never be a priority to her. Her kids will always come first. All right. And you will basically become a second-class citizen in your own home. And that is a fair argument. That happens a lot. All right. No doubt about it. But if the real issue is being treated as a second-class citizen in your own home, then the key is not to determine whether she has a kid or not. The key is to determine, will she give you the priority that you need? Will she treat you as you need? Because if you met a woman with a kid who understood the need to make sure she was pouring, not to neglect her child in favor of you, but to make sure that your needs were being met as well, and make sure that she prioritizes you as well, then the real problem is solved. You see what I'm saying? The real problem is solved. To give a different example, not with kids, but going back to money. I've heard some women argue, well, they need a man making six figures because they want to go on a big vacation every year. Literally, I've heard this. And so to me, it's like, okay, your concern is not really about the amount of money he makes. It's really about his ability to spend on you and to pay for a vacation. If he can achieve that while still making less than six figures, then the problem is solved. You see, we're getting caught up in what we think on the surface defines the underlying issue. It does make it more or less likely. So does having the kid make it more likely for her to struggle in making you a priority? Yes, I think that is a very fair statement. But it doesn't define her ability to do that. It doesn't mean automatic that will be the case. And the reason why I think it's important to understand that we got to go deeper is because I've known some men who were against single mothers only to end up with a single mother and be the happiest they've ever been in their life. All right? Because they found the right one. They found the woman who was really for them, who there was a real connection. There are blended families out there who are loving each other, living it up, and it's amazing because they're right for each other. So again, it's like, yo, we got to, again, nothing wrong with having preferences. I'm not knocking the preferences, but I am saying be careful because there's a deeper story to people. There's a deeper story to situations. And we got to understand, what are we really concerned with that causes us to evaluate or judge what we're seeing on the surface? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's coming to my head, maybe because I mentioned strip club earlier, but I remember I knew a woman who used to strip, and at the time she had a boyfriend, and we were talking, and she was like, yeah, you know, her boyfriend used to always say he would never date a stripper. And the reason why he would never date, because his perception was strippers are out there being super loose, doing their thing, blah, 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 all this stuff. But in meeting her and seeing that she wasn't what he projected onto that occupation, all right, and that they had a greater vibe, he ended up being willing to look past it and be in a happy relationship. You know what I'm saying? Again, this ain't everybody's cup of tea, but I'm just breaking down for you why, again, there's a deeper story. We got to be willing to go deeper because there's a lot more to it than just what we see on the surface. You see, and there's several people saying, I don't like beards. And I'm cool with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You ain't got to like beards. You're going to find you a nice beardless man. You know, I'm going to pray for that. That you get what you're looking for, that you're attracted to. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong. And that's the thing. In regards to preferences, let's stop being mad at people's preferences. Like, it is what it is. Again, I still apply my belief of being able to look past the surface, or the surface of what the issue is for you, and understanding the deeper root problem. But some things are just about attraction. And if somebody's not attracted to a certain look or whatever, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. See, somebody said, I thought I wouldn't date a shorter man until I did. Exactly. I went to the interviews years ago with a woman, same thing. She was like, she was never about dating a shorter man. And then she met this one guy who was shorter than her. They hit it off amazing. Now they're married. Now they're happily married. Not just, damn, this is all I got, so let me marry. No, happily married. Like, thank God she met this man. You know what I'm saying? It can happen sometimes. Someone says no man or woman can get the perfect match. I highly disagree, to be honest with you. I think we don't find the perfect person, but we can find the perfect match. All right. And so essentially we can find the person who fits us so freaking well. And that's where connection comes into place. I do believe that exists, but will they be perfect in the sense of every last thing you could have possibly hoped and asked for is exactly as it is? No, but are the intangibles, are the foundational things there? Yes, that can be there. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's like, okay, if you like, if you would love for him to be 6'2", but this guy's 5'11", and he's still taller than you, he's not perfect in what you thought would be the most ideal, but for you, he's perfect for you. The match is perfect. Y'all go together beautifully. Like the perfect match, I believe in. See, another person said, and they're turned off by tattoos. See, nothing. And I got, well, you can't see them. I got plenty of tattoos. I mean, and again, it's okay. It's okay. People have their preferences. Again, I have to say something about this. So this person said, not what Christians should do. Now, I'm not sure what that's in reference to specifically, but my point isn't really based on what that's referenced to. It's based on the perception of what Christians should do. Understand this. I'm not saying there isn't a guideline to being a godly person. What I am going to say, though, is that we are all imperfect. We are all flawed. We come from different backgrounds, different upbringings. And sometimes while we are in the process of transformation, we're still getting rid of some things. We're still working some things out. We're still trying to improve with certain habits. And I think we have to be careful with dismissing people because what we're seeing completely doesn't match what we believe the perception should be right now. All right. Because again, I believe when it comes to our faith and our walk with God, it's not necessarily about where we are. It's where we're heading. Where are we going? Is this person moving in the right direction? Are they improving? Are they growing? Again, not perfection, but progress. And I think we have to be careful because when we're too quick to dismiss anyone because they don't fit the mold that we believe they should fit, we dismiss some individuals who, again, there may be a purpose in us connecting with them. There may be a purpose in us working with them, whatever the case may be. Or hell, we may be a piece of their puzzle in the sense of what if in that moment, maybe we're not supposed to be in a relationship with them. Maybe we're not even supposed to be acquaintances too much. But maybe in a passing moment, we're there to give them a word, or we're there to encourage them in some kind of way, to remind them. And listen, even what's the scripture say? The righteous man falls 7 times, but he keeps getting back up. So we're going to fall. And the thing is, sometimes people don't understand that you may have just caught them when they fell. That doesn't mean they stayed down the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like in this world we live in, we have this bad habit where someone could literally have lived the perfect godly life for 364 days and 23 hours of this year, right? But if you catch them in the 1 hour that they fell, you want to define their whole walk in that hour. You want to say, well, you ain't a real Christian. You ain't this, you ain't that. What you mean? What you mean? You just caught them when they fell. That's it. You ain't see the whole picture. You don't know what's really going on. So be careful. Be careful with that. And don't get me wrong. We've all done it to a certain extent. We've all maybe judged a little too quickly. It happens. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, again, ain't no shaming nobody with this. I'm just giving it a perspective to consider. You know what I'm saying? Because I see it happen too often where we dismiss all the good of somebody because, yeah, they got moments where they fall. But the righteous man keeps getting back up. And he'll fall again, but he keeps getting back up. This question says, do men take 90 days or longer to know if you are the woman they want? There is no general set timeline for men in regards to how long it takes to determine if a woman is the one that he wants. I will say that I think that people know very quickly. I think that when this whole taking years and all that stuff is just no. It's just no. In most cases, that's a red flag. That is a red flag to me. If it's in a year, I'm like, nah, something's going on here. But again, it's hard to put a time frame. It's about, the thing is this: you have to base it off of. Let's say I'm dating you, and there are some people who can date for 3 months, 90 days, and in those 90 days, maybe they went out a couple times, they've been talking, but they haven't really spent a lot of quality time getting to know each other. Therefore, they need more time to figure out what they have in front of them, quite possibly. However, you can have somebody else who's only known each other for 2 weeks, but in those 2 weeks, they dived deep into each other. They asked the questions. They had long conversations. They spent time. And they have a greater wealth of knowledge of what's in front of them than the people who knew each other for 90 days, 1 year, 2 years. And so in that 2 weeks, he can determine it. So my point is, if you as a woman or man can say, I've shown you who I am, I've put it on the table, I've presented myself fully, there is no more information for me to present. Either you want it or you don't. That's it. Either at this point, either I'm what you desire or I'm not. There's nothing else to figure out. So I think it's just about basing it on, have you given them enough information to go off of? And if you feel like you have not, why haven't you? And let's make time to do that. Let's make time to sit down and have a deeper discussion. Let's lay out what we're looking for and what we expect of our partners, all these things. So now once we can say, okay, I gave you all the information. What's up now? Like, again, you want it or you don't. Make it happen or keep it moving. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So they say men are very simple creatures, all right? And I laugh because there's truth to that, but I don't think it's always as simple as that. Now, there's a joke, or at least I've heard this joke, where all a man